This is a Black Nouveau web exclusive. We continue with our conversation with director George Tillman Jr. about his film, The Hate U Give.
I think sometimes with films and feature films, you find yourself embellishing or pushing to create drama. And I just really felt like the drama was really already there. This young girl witnessing the shooting.
Yo, Star, you okay?
Go back where he told you. Khalil, I'm not playing. Go back where... What did you do?
There was no time for her to really deal with her traumatic stress. And that's what a lot of African Americans deal with. They just, next day, something happened, you got to go back out into the real world.
Brutality.
And that just causes anxiety and dealing with all these different things from the neighborhood and from the police officers and being afraid of these two worlds. You don't really have to do a lot. Just be yourself and find these moments that's honest and just take from your own experience. All that was taken from my experience. I grew up, here on the north side of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Having heard the talk from several my relatives and how to conduct yourself around a police officer, and now having a 15-year-old son, there's something. We've been through these things. We know what it's like to face racism. We know what it's like to hear things that shouldn't be said by other people. So that's one of the things that we try to do. So whenever we do a take, and I want to do another one, sometimes in there we'll be like, can I do another one? I think I can be a little more honest.
Come out, it's just two. I just want to come out. You want to see what she's talking about. Do you know Denasia? You don't know. Come out to see who she is, who she's talking about. You're interested in that.
I think everybody was very aware of that going in.
How has the response been with white audiences about the talk? Because, we know what the talk is. We understand that.
Yeah. Most of the experience when the audience watched that is completely surprising. That they may have to have the talk about the birds and the bees, while our talk is completely different. And then watching the movie and having an understanding. First it's surprise, shock, never even heard of it before. And then at the end of the movie, understanding it and having an understanding of why this must happen and having empathy and caring. So that awareness, the movie is building a sense of awareness in a human way, in an organic way, not preaching or not throwing it down, just seeing it as it unfolds. And we've been testing in audience who are white, been enjoying the movie as much as African Americans. They see it differently than we do, but they're understanding and they love the movie as well.
You've had a strong reputation in film, but you're also doing a lot of television that maybe people don't know about. Talk about that for a bit.
Yeah, I feel like feature films sometimes take a long time. Trying to get the studio to greenlight a movie sometimes can be a long process. You gotta get the script, you gotta get the casting where they're happy and the budget. Sometimes you can find yourself in a year and a half, 2 years just waiting. So I felt myself that I'm not writing anymore. How do I stay active? And TV was the way to do that. And I feel like over the last few years, TV has been amazing, almost just as strong as features. Some of the characterizations and dynamics and relationships, they're not afraid of drama, So I find myself getting involved with Luke Cage over at Marvel. I did This Is Us, Power for Stars, and I have done a pilot as well for NBC. So that's something I want to continue to do more of. Just imagine if you can do a novel and do it over 6 or 7 nights or over a season. You can be able to explore more, get more in detail. There's something that seems to be very interesting to me about that. And also there's an urgency with television. You got about an hour, So you got to tell that story in an hour and let it fold over a season. I think that's really interesting.
You look back over the last couple of years, there have been a number of films that have sort of broke the mold in a lot of different ways. Are things really changing in Hollywood for African Americans?
I think it is changing. I think it's for the better. The difference is, I know there was always this pocket of sometimes as a resurgence in films, like in the 70s. There was a resurgence of African Americans on screen. And then in the 90s as well, but then it goes away. A lot of that, I think, in the 70s, because a lot of the filmmakers, there were several prominent African American filmmakers in the 70s, but majority of them was white telling our stories. The difference now is that we have so many more African American women and women of color, or women period directing films, and more African Americans on television doing, in terms of showrunners, in terms of directing features. It's much more of us in control now and being successful, especially in television. And what that do is creates more jobs, and it creates more visions, and it's different kind of visions now. And this year alone, not even aware when I was shooting The Hate You Give last year, I had no knowledge of what was being shot. And then by the time my film come out, it's like, wow, some really great films came out which were African-American directors. So, and who are writers in behind. So I think that's the difference now that these TV shows and movies are getting successful. It creates us to be more longevity.